Today is a gift to each one of us. So in a moment of silence, let us just say thank you for this day. Lord, you poured out your talents upon all here present. We ask you tonight to bless those talents, to bring them to a fruitful, that they may bear much fruit within the community for all peoples. Help us, Lord, to be open to your will. Amen.
Please. Good evening, everybody. I've got a few notices to read out to you before we start. Please note this meeting is being filmed for publication on the Council's website. By entering the chamber and sitting anywhere except in the public gallery, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for broadcasting and or training purposes, as your images cannot be removed post-recording. If you are a member of the public and do not wish to have your image captured, you should sit in the appropriate seats in the public gallery at the rear of the chamber. If you have any queries regarding this, please speak to one of the council staff after the meeting. Please note that the toilets on the ground floor are closed for refurbishment. Toilets are available on the first floor of Morden Library, and a member of the security team will be available to direct you. Thank you. Do we have any apologies for absence? Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. Are the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of February 2019 are agreed as a correct record? Agreed. Thank you. And I now call on Councillor Andrew Bridges. I believe you wish to say a few words about Councillor Morden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank Councillor Morden. What I will do is read out the letter that I wrote to her on hearing that she was stepping down. It encompasses all our thoughts here on this side of the chamber about Councillor Morden 6 years, and I understand a colleague of mine, Edith McCall, may wish to add. So my letter dated the 13th of February 2019. Dear Una, I'm writing to express my thanks for all your work over the past 6 years as our leader of the opposition here at Merton Council. I always valued your contribution to our debates and looked forward to our meetings. There were a number of times when we joined together in policies, in actions, in projects to the benefit of our residents. We of course had our differences in the chamber and sometimes on social media, but overall we worked really well together. You held the important position of opposition leader with composure, dignity, and you always joined the lunches that our chief officer put in place for the leaders. Can I say that our decision to support Janice as mayor-elect had a lot to do with your approach and the way you operated. I appreciate very much the confidential discussions we had, and the orderly way in which you stepped down is a mark of the way in which you like to do things. I'm pleased that I will still be able to work with you as you remain an important member of the council. Thank you for all you've done. I will miss you, but I know you're still here for advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bridges. May I congratulate Councillor McLean on becoming leader of the group, and hopefully you will enjoy your time as group leader. So I'll call on you now to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I welcome this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Conservative Group in thanking Councillor Morden for her dedication during 6 years of leadership. During that time, she led us through 2 elections against a difficult national backdrop. While only being part of the group for 9 months, it has certainly been enough time to appreciate Councillor Morden's leadership and hard work. Furthermore, I am very grateful for the assistance and support that she provided in Cannon Hill, leading up to and during the 2018 election campaign, actions that contributed to my being elected. Indeed, I sent similar remarks to Councillor Morden on hearing of her intention to retire as Conservative Group Leader. The response I received was thank you, but no intention of getting out the slippers or bullocks just yet. I know these sentiments are shared by the group and Conservative associates across Merton, and I look forward to Councillor Morden's continued energy and support within the Conservative group. Thank you.
Councillor Fairclough, do you wish to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to add the thanks of the Democratic Group for your time and work in the opposition, Councillor Morden. I wanted to take the opportunity to share an anecdote which I think demonstrates Councillor Morden's generosity of spirit, which I think shines through. Very shortly after the election in May, you came up to me and you congratulated me on my result particularly, and you very kindly said that you had used me as an example to some of the unsuccessful members of your group. Someone who never gives up, which I thought was a very nice sentiment and very welcome. And I hope that the members of your group perhaps don't take your advice, but thank you very much anyway. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Southgate, do you wish to speak?
Thank you. When you told me that you was going to step down as leader, just ahead of our last council meeting, my immediate and rather personal reaction, if you like, was that it felt like being told by a long-standing friend that they are going to be moving away and you won't be seeing them so often. In some ways it still feels a little like that. But stepping beyond the personal, I like to recognise what Una has achieved as leader of her group, and indeed for Merton as a whole. She became leader in 2013 in very unpropitious circumstances, actually, after what the local Guardian described as a tumultuous week for the Tories, with the resignation of 4 members and suspension of a 5th. It typifies Una's approach, that she stepped up to the role, she pulled her group together, not to fulfil any personal ambitions, I believe, but to do a job which needed to be done. She sought to build consensus within her group. I'm pleased to say also that she carried that desire to build consensus into her relations with the other group leaders, and that was to the benefit of Merton as a borough. And as well, we had some green little lunches together. So really, you leave the role of leader with our good wishes, even as we welcome Councillor Nick McLean as your successor.
Thank you, Councillor Southgate. Councillor Edith McCauley, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to extend my sincere thanks to Councillor Morden. She was first elected to this council in 2002, and I always remember she was elected at the same time as Penny Ahmed, who is now Lord Ahmed, in the House of Lords, and they both served their ward with great efficiency. Councillor Morden has been a wonderful councillor during her years, and I remember her, she was in the same position with my colleague who was there, the late Councillor Martin, doing children's services. She was a very dedicated member of that service. She did all her best to ensure that looked after children were well placed, and she knew our lines very well, and she performed wonderfully at this council. During her 6 years as the leader of the Tory party, she also showed great skills. And I always listened to her. She didn't have any iota of doubt in terms of being very political. All her aims and objectives were to make sure that she looked after people in the borough, which was great. She was elected as mayor of Merton in this borough, and during her mayoral year, she observed the protocol of the mayor's office with high dignity. And she worked very hard, and I would class her as an excellent mayor and outstanding. She did very well during her mayoral year, and I thank her for that. Apart from that, during her mayoral year, she decided to join the LMA, the Chain Gangs London Mayors Association, and she is now the vice chair of the LMA, and she does a wonderful job there, and she always tries her best to make sure that we have a wonderful dinner at the LMA, and she has excellent skills in writing and program, and all I can say is, you people might miss and not be the leader here, but we love her to be our vice chair of the LMA. Well done, Councillor Morden.
Thank you, Councillor McCauley. Do we have any other councillors who would wish to speak on this? Anybody else? So, Councillor Morden, would you now like to respond, please?
I think I made my announcement, as you know, Madam Mayor, at the last meeting. I don't think I can add, really. I've been very moved by all the kind words that people have said, and indeed those that have written, and I've had some lovely words and tributes from Jared, from all sorts of people, lovely cards, bouquets of flowers, very spoiled when I appreciate all your sentiments, and all I can say is to reiterate what Councillor McLean said, is I'm not planning to get the slippers or the Horlicks out yet, so watch this space. We'll see how things go, but I have a few minds going, and I just very much like to represent my residents of Wimbledon Park to the best of my ability now, and do a few other things as Councillor McCauley has highlighted as well. So thank you very much, and very pleased.
We will now deal with the only item for tonight, the business plan for 2019-2023. I will briefly go through how I intend to proceed so all councillors and members of the public will understand the procedure for this meeting. Firstly, the Council will receive a presentation from the Director of Corporate Services, Caroline Holland, on the business plan report. Once the Director of Corporate Services is finished, I will then invite councillors to ask her questions about the report. As indicated to the group leaders previously, I will be following the order as used for ordinary council meetings for members' questions to cabinet members. I have allocated 20 minutes for this item, which should allow the expected 12 questions across the parties to be asked. And I will ensure that there is time for all of those to be asked. However, if time should allow, I will happily take any further questions to the Director based on other names provided, and I will rotate as before. The next aspect of the meeting will be the speeches by the 4 group leaders, starting with the Leader of the Council, Councillor Andy Brittis, moving the substantive budget report. I will then invite members of the Cabinet to comment on the report before us. He will then take any amendments, we will then take any amendments on the budget report. Once all the amendments have been moved and seconded and are on the table, I will open up the meeting to the main debate. I will invite members to speak in turn based on the order provided by each group in a rotating fashion between each group. At the conclusion of the main debate, I will then take each of the amendments and call for a vote on each individually. Once all the amendments have been agreed or fallen, I will then invite the leader to move the substantive report to be voted upon. Finally, just a reminder that all votes this evening will be taken by roll call in line with legislation. With all that having been explained and everyone clear, hopefully, I would like to invite the Director of Corporate Services to address the Chamber, Caroline Holland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I present to you tonight the budget for 2019-20 and the business plan for 2019-23. I could leave it there and go straight to questions, but I don't think that does justice to the 389-page report, and that's before you include the information pack. So as part of my role as your Section 151 officer, I attend the quarterly meetings of the inflation report held at the Bank of England. It struck me on reading their statement in some ways how lucky they were in presenting that report. They had planned for a smooth exit of Brexit, but say if that changes with what they refer to as the fog of Brexit, they will change their forecast. Local authorities do not have that luxury. The authority has to set a balanced budget for 2019-20 on the 11th of March. The authority has to set a council tax and send out the bills with 14 days' notice of the amount to pay to enable our residents to pay them from April the 8th, where they are able to do so subject to our council tax support scheme. We have to plan for our services, estimate what's required for our new service users, review if some services are no longer to be provided, respond to changes in legislation, reduction in funding, plan for the regeneration of Morden and other town centres, expand our special schools to enable more children to be educated in the borough, all the while dealing with our own fog funding. We are party to the London Business Rates pilot for a further year. Interest rate of 75%, not 100% that some other pilots have been allowed to maintain. This is at a time when there is increased concern amongst the business sector about the long-term viability of business rates as a form of tax. There are proposals to introduce a digital tax on major tech firms. There is also significant concern about the health of the high street, as evidence of the consultation meeting held with our business ratepayers last month and echoed across the country. We are at the end of a 4-year settlement of funding from central government. We are waiting on a spending review from government on the size of the pot of local government from 2021 onwards. This will then feed into a fair funding review, which will then divide the overall pot amongst local authorities. I'm sure you've already read about how the counties are underfunded, and then how the cities are underfunded, and then how the district councils are underfunded. And those stories will continue during and after the review, as there will be winners and losers. We just don't know who they will be at this stage. One of the many implications for us is that we do not know our basic needs allocation for schools, which we normally get 3.5 years ahead to help us plan and fund our school expansion or refurbishment. We still have to do these, as with our excellent track records for our schools, though they are becoming increasingly more popular. But that means there is potentially additional cost to us over the medium term, as has been set out in the capital strategy. We have assumed a no worse off scenario for general funding over the medium term, but that still meant when we started to review the LTFS back in September, we had a budget cap of just over 20 million by the end of 22-23. As there being no news regarding the improvement to care fund after 2019-20, we have assumed the ongoing commitments will continue rather than reduce care, and that we'll be allowed to use adult social care funding to offset this. We have had some additional funding through from winter pressures, social care support, and high needs funding for our schools, but none of these continue past 2019-20. And the distribution methodology used appears to penalise London and could be seen as a precursor to the outcome of the fair funding review. Indeed, we are looking to have a deficit on our dedicated schools grant during 2018-19, a situation which is becoming more common across London, and we have written to ministers regarding our concerns in this area. So officers began working on proposals for the medium-term financial strategy from 2016-17, alongside cabinet members and scrutiny powers, to help shape the services for our residents and visitors, to deliver the services they need, they value, the ones they can complain about, the ones they don't realise we provide, and some services they really don't want, but we choose to do so or have a legal responsibility to provide. It has been shaped in many ways, either by simply being in the borough and becoming liable for council tax, to having children requiring and accessing our schools with 91% rated good or outstanding by Ofsted, to being in the borough with 80% of open spaces, to having their rubbish and green waste collected, to use in our libraries, particularly College Wood, and our new leisure centre, our children's services rated good with outstanding features, and clearly for those in the borough who require our adult social care services. So in considering the budget for 2019-20 and the possible reduction or alteration of service provision, members must consider the public sector equality duty. The Council must, in exercising its functions, have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment, victimisation, and other conduct prohibited by the Equality Act, and to advance equality of opportunity and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic under the Act and those who do not share a protected characteristic. So the specific proposed savings contained in the information pack will be subject to separate decision-making processes, either by cabinet members or officers. Some of the proposed savings will require a consultation process to be undertaken, and the product of the consultation must be conscientiously taken into account and finalised in decisions. If, as a result of the consultation process, there are changes, alternative arrangements will need to be made to deliver reductions in spend. The proposals contained in the budget report tonight are not fixed or weighted decisions to impose specific reductions in spending. The budget decision is not the final decision affecting the provision of an element of service, and individual savings proposals are not set in stone. We have a balanced budget for 2019-20, a small gap in 2020-21, but rising to over 6 million by 22-23, subject to the FOG funding. So future increases in council tax at the maximum level currently allowed have been built in to reduce the gap already to these levels. We have been able to use the balance in the budget reserve to smooth the impact on the bottom line over the short and medium term, but this is now estimated to be fully utilised by 2021. The medium-term financial strategy incorporates previous decisions when some of the savings were implemented in 2019-20 were first proposed. It pulls together our assumptions on how services will change over the forthcoming 4 years, the expenditure pressures all councils are facing, impact of national living wage, increasing costs being faced by our providers, increased demands of our services and rising population, impacting on children's and adult services at times of reduced capacity. It takes into account our income streams and how we can optimise or influence behaviour with them without destroying the demand. Procurement plays a key role in how we provide services to our customers and residents. Work is ongoing on new highways contract and parking, and linking with commissioning and more benefits to be delivered on social care contracts in the medium term. Our capital programme sets out the necessary long-term investment in our assets up to 2028, helping us to respond to those demographic changes referred to earlier by expanding primary and secondary schools and now our special schools and regenerating our town centres. We have reviewed the schemes, the profiling and funding of the programme to reduce the associated revenue impact as a consequence over the long term. All of these, with key risks, performance indicators and service plans, give a wealth of information and analysis, which you have seen through cabinet and scrutiny to assist you with your decision making tonight. But not forgetting the Savings Proposals Information Pack, which has become quite a long-term document, but not quite what you thought the new year would bring you. Reserves and balances has been set out and show their use over time, both on a revenue and capital basis. And I have reviewed the level of general fund balances and set out the revised information in the report, and we will review further in light of our overall outturn position. Merton has earmarked reserves which are being used to fund apprentices, data system developments, welfare support, as well as smoothing the gap. So services have time to plan for wage change. These reserves are reducing over time and are not available to fund ongoing expenditure requirements. Current level of reserves is not out of kilter with our outer London neighbours. So I am your Section 151 officer with overall responsibility for presenting to you to approve the business plan, medium-term financial strategy and a balanced budget for 2019-20 with a proposed annual social care preset of 2% and 2.99% increase in the core element of the council tax. There is also a capital budget of 54 million, 56 million over future years, and a council tax level of just over £1,127. So for you to agree tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We will now move on to a number of questions to the Director of Corporate Services. So, the Councillor Gugina, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Can you give us information on whether or not Merton's council tax increases in line with other London boroughs?
So for the first time in a number of years, it looks like all London boroughs will be increasing their council tax from next year, ranging from 2% to 4.99%, which is the maximum without a referendum limit. The majority in London are increasing it by 4.99%.
Thank you. Councillor Morden, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Madam Director, I have a complex question. And like all our questions, you have been given advance notice of it. Looking at the council tax levy for Merton residents at Band D, excluding the WPPC levy, what was the total rise in percentage terms in council tax relative to the increase in CPI inflation between 2007-8 and 2010-11? And what will it be in total between 2017-18 and 2019-20, including the recommended council tax levy increase?
Thank you for sharing the question in advance. The increase between the earlier years, levels of council tax increase was 8.8%, when CPI was 12.1%, and 2017-18 and 19-20 the increase in council tax is 8.1%, and CPI has increased by 4.8%.
Councillor McGrath, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is this. If the increased revenue from the parking charge increase does not materialise, either due to the Conservative amendment being passed or because Cabinet decide after consultation not to proceed with it, how will the shortfall in increased revenue be made up? And if it's all going to be made up from unallocated reserves, what percentage of those reserves will be used up next year?
So if the parking proposal does not go ahead, we will be using more of the balancing the budget reserve in 2019-20 and it gets used earlier in 2021. So the current shortfall in 2021 is currently 1.1 million and that deficit gap will rise to 6.8 million in 2021. So there is not a significant increase in use of reserves, but the gap does increase significantly in 2021, so we have less time to plan for it. But by 22-23, the gap is still 9.9 million, which is only 3.8 difference of all the income from parking proposal coming out.
Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Director, not long ago, people were saying we should cut council tax by 10%. In total, by the end of this medium financial period in 2023, what would be the cumulative cuts required to balance the budget?
So we currently have savings of 15.8 million built into our medium-term financial strategy up to 22-23, with a gap still of 6 million, so that's a total of 22 million. But we have built in council tax increases, and if those were removed, that would add a further 8 million to the gap, 30 million in total by 22-23.
Councillor Simpson.
Thank you. Director, what is the difference in the revenue received from the 41 controlled permit zones in Wimbledon and Range Park and the 4 in Mitchell?
So, of the permits, 71% are in Range Park and Wimbledon and 12% in Mitchell. And the difference in income between those two is just over £900,000.
Councillor Corr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we know, the court case won a reprieve from Morden Police Station is just a reprieve. There's been no guarantees over its long-term survival. In the meantime, there's been heartening discussions between cross-party discussions between colleagues and councillors over what to do if the worst case arises and the new decision is made to close the police station. I don't think it would involve the officers, and I was wondering whether, or asking for the Director's reflections on what, if any, possibilities she thinks there are for alternative funding schemes for Wimbledon Police Station or alternative premises within Wimbledon.
So certainly there's been no discussion, as far as I'm aware, amongst officers, and certainly not funding any potential purchase. So if the proposal is still to purchase it on a 5-year basis, there's no provision currently in the capital programme to do so. So therefore a business case would need to come forward and then see if we would have the use of that facility at the end of its life. But the values, you can't necessarily say at the moment with the property market whether they'll go up or come down, and whether we would actually be allowed to buy it because of the shortfall that the Met Police has in funding some of their gaps going forward as well. But certainly we could look at what the options would be, but there's no provision currently in the budget or capital for it.
Councillor Cowper.
Thank you very much. Can you confirm that the increased budgets for adult social care and children's services agreed last year are being retained in this year's budget? And could you remind me, please, how much those increases were?
So the increase in growth for adult services compared to last year, it's been maintained at 9.5 million. But the children's services has actually had a further increase of 500,000. So that's a total of 2 million increase since 2017-18.
Councillor James Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a question for the Director. What was the anticipated starting and end point position of the for use in future years budget reserve in the 3 years 2017-18, 2018-19, 2019-20? And why was the difference in each year so significantly different than anticipated?
So we thought in 17-18 that the opening balance would be just 5.8 million, and then in 18-19 we thought it would be 5.4 million, and in 19-20 we thought it would be 11.1 million. And it was going to be utilised by 2018-19, then 19-20, and now 2021. So we have used some of those balances to fund the additional growth. That has been just previously mentioned, but also there have been some areas where we've had some additional funding through, some savings have been brought forward earlier than necessarily required, and that's been used to put into balance the budget reserve to smooth the budgets that need to be made and the savings that need to be made to help us plan for service changes over a longer time period to protect their services.
Councillor Making. You have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What is your view of using general reserves on day-to-day service provision? Would these services automatically stop when reserves are back?
It is not a good idea to use general reserves in the day-to-day service to fund day-to-day service provision, and that can be seen by Northamptonshire County Council. But I would say that indeed Scrutiny reminds us regularly not to rely on reserves and one-off monies to balance the budget or to use it on an ongoing basis. However, the services will not automatically stop, as it depends on the nature of what is being provided. So certain children's services, certain adult services we would still need to continue to do. But I believe action would need to be taken by officers, particularly potentially me, my Section 151 role, the monitoring officer, and you as members, before the reserves run out, and also to try and avoid government intervention at all costs.
Councillor Fraser, do you have a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Can the Director tell us what the expected budget overspend or underspend is predicted to be in the financial year as a percentage of the gross budget? And how does a monthly financial reporting help with drawing up a medium-term financial strategy?
So the latest revenue monitoring is showing a £1.6 million underspent, which is 0.3% against the gross budget. We use the monitoring to help identify areas of ongoing underspends, which can then be brought forward as savings proposals, some one-off items which could be added to reserves, or to identify areas of pressure where further lobbying might need to be undertaken, or further work done to see what the long-term solutions should be.
Thank you. As we have some time left, and there are some more members who would like to ask the Director a question, I will work through the list provided and try to fit in as many as possible. Councillor Holmes.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much. Director, my question has been notified in advance as well and relates to the commercialisation task group in November 2016. And the question is, could you tell us how many recommendations from that task group have been implemented and become council policy, and give us an idea as to what savings have resulted or cash generated? Thank you.
So there were 10 recommendations being monitored as part of the task group. 2 are about reporting back regularly, and these have been added to the work plan. 2 have been completed. Others are ongoing, such as finding a joint venture partner for Morden regeneration, and some are linked to making use of capacity in the capital programme and our treasury management strategy as and when required. So the recommendations have assisted with the deliverability of existing savings, as there have been some shortfall on additional income from events, such as Eastern Electrics in that park. And there is still further potential work being explored, such as the commercialisation and multi-use of land commons.
Thank you. Consolidated.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Madam Director, Merton Music Foundation helps 2,000 children to learn a musical instrument across Merton. What is the level of support predicted to be in the financial year 2021-2022?
So currently Merton Music Foundation gets £46,000 funding from our dedicated schools grant and from the general fund monies. And by the end of 21-22 it is anticipated that will fall to zero. However, we've been working with them to assist them in their transition to an SLA agreement, which mirrors the successful approach that we took with the Merton Schools Sports Partnership.
Councillor Benbow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Director. How much money is spent on the enforcement on fly tipping, and how much money is on 40? Thank you.
Thank you. So we currently have 4 enforcement officers covering the borough, dealing with environmental issues, and flight tipping is just one of their duties, alongside tackling and removing abandoned vehicles, coordinating community clean-ups and spring cleans, education and advice. So from April 18 to date, we have collected just over £13,000 of fixed penalty fines for small flight tipping, and we've had 7 successful prosecutions, and with a result of just under £8,000 in fines and costs, so approximately 21k in total.
Thank you. Right, we now move on to the leaders' speeches. Councillor Alan Bridges, you have 10 minutes to move the business plan report and to present your speech on the report.
Madam Mayor, tonight I report on an administration on course to be London's best council. I report on our 1,800 employees working across 4 departments, delivering services to 200,000 residents. Tonight I present a budget for Merton's families. And I confirm Labour in Merton delivering on its manifesto pledges. Madam Mayor, Merton is stronger because we did not seek short-term fixes, but pursued a medium-term financial strategy. The people of Merton are satisfied because whatever the challenge, however strong the pushback, we have held to our July principles set out in 2011. Madam Mayor, I must now tell the Chamber that we face a new challenge. The Tory government is in freefall over Brexit. Merton is not immune to the Brexit shock and slowdown. But we are not weak. We have a choice. We can choose to buckle under the Brexit uncertainty, or we can be a force for local stability. In this budget, we choose to be a force for local stability by putting Merton's families first. Madam Mayor, our school improvement team continues to work miracles. Good and outstanding schools. The opening of a new secondary school with a new building in South Wimbledon on the way. Record numbers of parents getting their first preference in their choice of school. Our leisure department, albeit small in number, it delivers big on impact. Like a brand new Morden leisure centre in Morden Park, nicely nestled between St Helier and Cannon Hill Walls. Merton's Children's Services, rated good and outstanding, featured on safeguarding, on adoption and crucially in leadership, keeping all children's centres open. Madam Mayor, let me turn to our care for the most vulnerable in Merton. Council tax rebates for low-paid families now in their 7th continuous year. Adult social care services that are the envy of other boroughs. Opening a new centre for adults with disabilities at Leighton Road in Abbey Ward. A strategic partner programme that has allocated £4 million to health and wellbeing groups. A review of the lunch club provision to modernise the offering to residents. Labour in Merton, looking after our young people and looking after our senior citizens. But, Madam Mayor, we need savings to continue to look after young and old alike. We are doing just that with our new waste collection service. The new service is saving us much needed money, while leading to an increase in recycling to over 40% and rising, while leading to a decrease of 330 tonnes per month to landfill. Madam Mayor, we continue to tackle the scourge of fly tipping that is a national crisis, with 1 million fly tips in the UK last year, according to DEFRA's own figures. And Merton will be taking part in the biggest mass action environmental campaign called the Great British Sprinkling, promoted by the Keep Britain Tidy group. Madam Mayor, the Chamber is aware of my pro-development approach. That is why we have a future Merton team delivering on housing, on regeneration and on exciting plans for Morden Town Centre. Working on the Wimbledon Master Plan and rediscovering Mitcham with improvement plans for Colliers Wood and South Wimbledon. Madam Mayor, the Local Government Association tell us of the 60% cut in local government funding since 2010. And yes, local authorities are at breaking point, and some have gone over, like Conservative Northampton. Madam Mayor, I now move to present Labour's ninth budget since we took back the administration in 2010, held it in 2014, held it again in 2018. And in footballing parlance, Madam Mayor, that's a hat-trick of election victories. We are tonight presenting an increase in the council tax of below 5%, inclusive of 2% to provide for adult social care. Flexibility. Madam Mayor, I therefore move the business plan and the budget proposals as set out in Recommendation 1, with particular reference to the formal resolutions as set out in Appendix 1 to the report before us tonight. In doing so, I want to single out a few people for special thanks. Mark Allison, my Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance. All councillors who chair and sit on our scrutiny panels. Thanks also go to Councillor Peter Southgate, the Chair of Scrutiny, to my Cabinet members and to all my councillors on this side of the chamber, to the former Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Moulton, and to the current Leader, Councillor Nick McLean, for stepping up to the plate, and congratulations from me on your new position, and to all their councillors on that side of the chamber. And can I also thank Councillor Anthony Fairclough and his Liberal colleagues for their contributions. Finally, a really big thank you to our Director of Corporate Services, Caroline Holland. Madam Mayor, we always take action for those facing difficulties in every budget we have given, and this budget is no different. We are exempting care leavers in the borough from paying council tax until age 25. This follows an excellent campaign by the Children's Society, and this is what that charity says about Merton's Labour care policy for care leavers. The Children's Society is pleased to learn that Merton will be exempting care leavers from paying council tax. This change will make a huge difference to the lives of vulnerable young people. Care in Merton. Labour Merton, Madam Mayor. Our young people, indeed all people, do not deserve a Tory government wreaking havoc by its appalling handling of Brexit. Let me explain to the Chamber what Brexit means to a local authority like Merton, Madam Mayor. Low business confidence, especially in the high street, will hurt our business rate potential at a time when we are increasingly reliant on that income stream. Leaving the EU will impact on our ability to deliver care services because of a future lack of care workers due to Brexit. This Council is not standing still on Brexit. We've set up a corporate task group with Director and Cabinet member involvement. We will be on hand to help our EU citizens gain settled status, Madam Mayor. And we will continue to lobby the government in defence of our 20,000 EU nationals living in the borough. Madam Mayor, whilst this Tory government is imploding over Brexit, its own ministers are congratulating us. For example, the Conservative Education Secretary, Damien Hines MP, has recently written to our schools congratulating them on the very high level of progress in reading, writing and mathematics. Another minister is also praiseworthy of our library service. Conservative Culture Minister Michael Ellis applauded Merton's award-winning libraries during his recent visit, noted the great work being done in Merton and how this should be the blueprint for libraries across the country. Madam Mayor, Of equal importance are the views of our residents. The last annual resident survey revealed record levels of satisfaction with council services and several best evers. Madam Mayor, residents have rightly looked to the administration to deliver on its manifesto pledges, and we are on rolling out a borough-wide 20 mph speed limit, on air quality by working with the Mayor of London on introducing air quality measures, on bringing home AFC Wimbledon, on completing the new leisure centre, on defending our residents against the Tory hard Brexit, on continuing to offer council tax support, on fighting Tory custard schools and care services, on driving up recycling rates, on fighting to save our schools, and on fighting for more bodies on our streets. Madam Mayor, 9 years ago we set out a long-term business plan because we wanted to make sure that Merton never again was powerless in the face of Tory austerity. 9 years later, our borough is safe for residents with strong community cohesion, with people feeling proud and not discriminated against. But the Tory Brexit storm clouds are gathering. Our response to this challenge must and can be quick. We act now so our residents don't have to lose out later. And so this is our budget, Madam Mayor. One that leads to an ever safer borough. One that cares for our children. One that looks after the vulnerable. One that gets investors investing in Merton. I commend to the Chamber a budget that puts Merton's families first. Madam Mayor, thank you.
The business plan report is to be seconded by Councillor Byers, and I believe you wish to speak at later on in the debate.
Yeah, formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may have been born in New Zealand, but Merton is my home, and I care passionately about the community I live in and represent in Cannon Hill. I am a new leader, elected in 2008 to the council, and the past is behind. Indeed, I make the leader of the Liberal Democrats look practically establishment. I am grateful for the courtesies extended to me by officers and members from across the chamber as I embark on this challenge. Madam Mayor, I do not enter politics to manage lives. I want to help make lives better. I do not believe in excessive managerialism and top-down bureaucracy. I am resentful of the words tax and ban. I believe politicians must strive to create an environment where an individual is able to take decisions for themselves and their families, where families, friends and the community are the support network and the state a safety net. I am a Democrat. It does not matter how you vote, but that your vote matters. I have strong values, conservative values, opportunity for all. In life you should be rewarded for the endeavour you put in. And you never pull one person up by pulling another one down. I reject the politics of envy and class warfare. I believe in aspiration and helping people get on life. And what's more, I am proud of it. Madam Mayor, local governments, authorities across the UK are facing budgetary restraints. But let us be reminded why those difficult decisions have been necessary. In 2008, the then Labour government crashed the economy. Once again, a Labour government had run out of other people's money to spend. Contrast that with the jobs miracle under this Conservative government, 32.6 million people in work, and soon for each and every one of those people in work, one of the highest minimum wages in the world. We understand that a dynamic business environment is essential to the vibrancy and growth of the borough, creating the opportunity for the new startup or budding entrepreneur to succeed, championing business hubs so that residents can work and live close by, removing the need to travel, reducing air pollution, and creating a better work-life balance, a sustainable future for Merton. Conservatives creating jobs for residents of Merton, for the many and not the few. Madam Mayor, there is a common theme when it comes to Labour and money, and that is mismanagement, and Merton Labour are no different. This administration has now tossed into its 9th year, 9 years of failing adequately to prepare for grant reductions, 9 years of failing to maximise innovation and efficiency, 9 years of failing to make the right decisions for Merton. And Madam Mayor, it has become quite apparent that without the high quality guidance from the senior officer team, then things could be so much worse. Rather than step up to the challenges, this administration showed a lack of political courage, and that is why the council now faces budgetary headwinds in the years ahead. For too long, Merton Labour have hidden behind and misrepresented the Conservatives' deficit reduction programme, refusing to take responsibility for their own budget decisions. On this side of the chamber, we are all instinctively drawn to living within our means, low tax and low spend. Merton Labour, on the other hand, are low tax and overspend. And not only do they run down our finances, they also seem determined to run down our borough. Madam Mayor, after the Merton Hall disgrace, you would think that Merton Labour would cease the cultural vandalism, but no, they're at it again. Fortunately, a Conservative-led scrutiny revolt stopped the mothballing of Morden Park House, a historic building and the only regulatory office in the borough. And when they were asked at Cabinet why it was removed, Councillor Allison mumbled that the business case has not been made. Well, if it hadn't been made, then why did they include it in the first place? I'm a small businessman, not a past spokesman for small business, and I know what business-like really means. And that is not the actions of a business-like council. And Madam Mayor, whilst we all support some of the Liberal Democrat amendments, in particular tonight, we will not support their second amendment, the Merton Wellbeing Innovation Fund, as this business case has simply not been made. Have they been taking advice from Councillor Allison? The contempt with which Merton Labour seem to hold the borough's much-loved historic buildings is only matched by the contempt they seem to have for its residents. This Labour administration constantly seeks to abdicate responsibility and attempt to shift the blame. Well, it will not go unchallenged in this chamber anymore. The deficit we have today has been caused by this administration's financial mismanagement. Yes, local government is being asked to do more with less, but as countless other local authorities take steps to manage this hard-hearted Labour administration tries to balance the books on the back of our children. What a disgrace. Madam Mayor, our amendment puts the children of Merton first. It commits £20,000 to improve our air quality around local schools, ensures Little Leagues are free at the point of use, allows Merton Music Foundation to continue to operate, takes genuine steps to improve the air that we breathe, instead of using air quality as an excuse for a stealth tax on those in our borough who don't vote Labour. Last week, I visited Cricket Green School in Mitcham, a fantastic school and rightly held in high esteem by this council. The children have recently finished planting their trees which are desperately needed in this area of high pollution. Today, I visited with Councillor Nigel Bembo, Merton Abbey School, another excellent school and again located in an area of high pollution. Now think of the good we could do for Merton's future and the well-being of our children if we have this £20,000 to allow local schools to plant trees. It is a groundbreaking policy that should not be kept in the shade. It puts our children first and helps us all. Last Saturday, along with Councillor David Dean, I met with Little League volunteers and organisers at the Prince George's Field to discuss the challenges that they now face because of Councillor Alan Brittis's indefensible decision to start charging for pitch shoes. A policy, of course, he said he would not do. Now I appreciate that it is difficult for him to talk football, but just because his beloved Fulham seems destined for the drop, there is no need to relegate the sporting chances of our borough, which is why we are determined to reverse this policy. But Merton's desire to end things that local children benefit from and enjoy does not stop there. Madam Mayor, Merton Music Foundation provide high-quality musical education for children throughout the London Borough of Merton. By cutting their budget, this Labour administration is depriving children of all socio-economic backgrounds the opportunity of an enriched musical experience. I ask colleagues opposite to think of this and change their tune. Madam Mayor, we are also seeking to remove Labour's misguided tax on parked cars are discriminatory tax that will not improve equality in this borough. Under this Labour administration, there exists an unacceptable and shameful 9 years of healthy living gap between people living in the most and least deprived areas of Merton. To reduce this gap, smarter policies are needed, like low-emission bus zones, as introduced on Putney High Street, which has led to a reduction in nitrogen dioxide of 87%. Madam Mayor, if this council does not pass this amendment, they will be endorsing worse air quality and shutting out children from the pleasure of music and the opportunity to play football with their friends. It is in the borough's best interest to have happy, healthy children with a rounded education who are not learning in schools surrounded by smog and pollution. Conservatives are passionate about equality, protecting the less well-off, and on the side of young people in Merton. Our amendment puts our children first. We're giving this council the chance to do the right thing, to change the administration's minds. So councillors, vote with your conscience and for this amendment, which I so move.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We were told that austerity was over, but on all sides of the chamber, we must realise that's not true. The current and future cuts that Merton needs to make go way beyond what can be delivered through efficiency savings. So we, on the Liberal Democrat benches, join with others in calling on government to reverse its continued underfunding of local government. And whilst we do not agree with a significant number of the planned cuts in this budget, the constraints in the budget don't offer much in the way of opportunities. Nonetheless, Madam Mayor, while difficult choices need to be made, the administration can set its priorities within that framework. And so, we will propose amendments that reflect clear priorities. But first, I want to turn to the plans of the administration and of the opposition, as Councillor McLean has just so eloquently outlined. It's regrettable, we think, that some of the situation we find ourselves in has been exacerbated by the administration, sometimes with short-term fixes. The Conservative majority government didn't continue the coalition policy of giving Merton extra cash to freeze the council tax, so there are now bigger and faster jumps in council tax rises to make up that gap, and worse, cuts to services. There's a lesson for us all there. There's quite a lot of vagueness in the savings pack. Many of the longer-term savings are reviews, meaning future cuts to services that we're being asked to take on trust that the detail can be all sorted out later. Madam Mayor, I think we should ask ourselves whether that's good enough for us and for our constituents, and then whether there might be a better way. Looking out to the opposition benches, I've sometimes wondered whether the Conservative group wants its plans implemented. Their 2018 manifesto would have cost local taxpayers millions extra, often expecting residents to pick up the tab where the Conservative government will back the state. For example, whatever the opposition's position on the waste contract and wheelie bins collections, breaking the VOE contract, whether now or in 6 years, will cost residents dearly. But they have been really clear about one thing, continuously trying to push cuts onto the most financially vulnerable in the borough. Most recently, last November, in the debate on the council tax support scheme, when they tried to take away potential council tax benefits for those on the lowest incomes. With respect, we demand more and better from the official opposition. Although we're pleased to see several of our campaign themes reflected in the Conservative budget amendments, looking at the detail, they're just kicking the can down the road until next year by draining the reserves. It's quite ironic to hear that our Amendment 2 didn't make a business case, when your entire business case is draining down the reserves. As we've heard, the balancing the budget reserve will be fully utilised already by 2021, and your plans simply drain that more quickly. This is not the budget amendment of the Conservative group looking to become the administration. As we favour open debate, last night I sent all group leaders a copy of the Liberal Democrat amendments, so hopefully you've all had a chance to think about the proposals. And I welcome that the Conservative group also shared the text of their proposals this morning. Councillors Quillian, Bakari and Kohler will talk to our amendments in more detail, but I'll outline them briefly here. Amendments 1 and 2 seek to mitigate some of the worst aspects of cuts to social care. We'll keep 2 vital support workers for children and their families at the Bond Road Centre. And we believe that the charges for the blue badges are both unnecessary and unfair. unfair. Our new Wellbeing Innovation Fund will help establish new ways to continue vital services and promote independence. Amendment 3 looks at developing some new and interesting ideas around revenue growth and pushing the council to rethink previous short-term decisions. We can learn from other councils. Like Stockport, we could create a strategic road fund to invest on improving roads now to save in the long run. It might not come as any surprise for a Lidl group to be proposing fixing potholes. We could look to Westminster or Kensington and Chelsea and set up a voluntary council tax donation scheme. Here in Merton, we want an education innovation fund from that. Continuing to let Merton's Little League football charities use local parks for free, maintaining the fantastic work open for all. Amendment 4 is about stepping in to protect community policing. And despite what a former Merton councillor, currently, I think, the Prime Minister, might say about there being no link between police cuts and knife crime, I think we all prefer to stick with the evidence. Together, our 4 amendments help residents during uncertain times, whilst recognising the difficult financial environment for the council. Surely by working together across the chamber, things can only get better. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sadly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight marks the culmination of a long process of budget scrutiny starting back last November. So in the short time available to me, I want to reflect on that process and to consider whether we can improve it for future years. The challenge facing us tonight is that a significant proportion of the savings we're about to approve will fail. In the event we will be unable to implement or deliver them. Now, if you doubt me, take a look at the projected outturn for the current year. Against the target for savings of 6.6 million, we're on course to deliver 5.4 million, a shortfall of 1.2 million, or 18%. And in the previous year, 27-18, against the target of 10.3 million, we fell short by 2.4 million, or 23%. Could we do more to identify the savings that are going to turn out to be undeliverable? Now, we all understand that savings have to be made, unpalatable as that may be, but are we making the right savings? Have a look at some of the savings that have already been replaced between first and second rounds of budget scrutiny. Consider what we might learn from them. Was it ever realistic, for example, to think we could reduce our staffing in our assessment and commissioning teams for adult social care? And then we faced unprecedented cuts in funding from central government over the last decade. We received our last direct grant of 5 million for next year, and after that we're on our own. So I feel there's a tendency to react with resignation, fatalism even, to feel there's nothing we can do but accept proposed cuts to services. But that would be wrong. Indeed, that would be an abnegation of our responsibility to our residents to scrutinise the budget in their best interests. Remember, some of these savings will prove undeliverable, and when that happens, users will suffer if less palatable savings have to be substituted. It's incumbent upon us to make sure we fully understand how proposed savings will work out in practice, what the risks are, and how they can be mitigated. We know we have to set a balanced budget for the year ahead, we accept that, but the MTF does allow some flexibility for the years from 2020 to 21 and beyond. In case you think it's all doom and gloom, perhaps we can hope for some relief from the Chancellor's spending review next week. The only benefit from the growing income inequality in our society is that tax receipts from the top quintile of taxpayers in January this year were much higher than anticipated. Is it too much to hope perhaps that a little of that surplus might be redistributed to the public sector and to local government in particular?
Thank you, Councillor Summaries. We now invite members of the Cabinet to comment on the report. So I call over Councillor Allison.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is my 9th budget, and every year it gets harder. Thanks to the ideological obsession with austerity of the Tories and with those in government, and their failure to turn the economy around, what was supposed to be a short period of belt tightening has reached the point where we read today that the police cannot cope with violent crime, that schools are having to close early, and that people are sleeping and dying on our streets. Grants for councils have been slashed year after year, leading to ever more difficult decisions. This sustained austerity, which I was sorry to hear the new leader of the opposition speak up for as deficit reduction programme, has done terrible damage. We should also reflect for a moment about the damage it's done to our body politic. It's possible to argue that this prolonged austerity has undermined faith in our institutions so much that we've ended up with a disastrous Brexit and with serious political parties being threatened by extremists from left and right. But all of us in this room speak to residents of Merton every week. We know they don't support this no-deal momentumisation of politics. They like that in Merton we take a business-like, pragmatic and moderate approach, and they want that to continue. But it has been hard. For this year's budget, we started out with a gap of £20 million a year, and we have identified around half of that. I'd like to put on record my thanks to every councillor who's taken part in a very comprehensive scrutiny process. There has been a broad consensus, and we have taken on board all scrutiny suggestions. The Tory proposals tonight have been repeatedly scrutinised, and each time they've been rejected. My message to them is that if they were serious about providing better services, they would ensure their government gave us the funding they know we need. Meanwhile, I am sorry, but perhaps not surprised, that nearly 6 months into the process, the Lib Dems have only today made any proposals, none of which have undergone any rigorous scrutiny. But since they spent 5 years working for a government that promotes austerity, I can only imagine that rigorous scrutiny is not their strong point. The truth that both those parties need to acknowledge is that thanks to their governments, far from us being able to spend more savings will need to be found. However, despite their cuts, thanks to this administration, in Merton we continue to maintain and improve services that matter most to local people. Merton is a great place for families, and tonight we present a budget for Merton's families. We have been delivering a new centre for adults with learning disabilities, a new library, a new leisure centre, a new secondary school, every children's centre kept open, children's services rated amongst the best in the country, record school results, £4 million for voluntary groups to provide health and wellbeing services, a review to improve lunch club provision, and of course council tax rebates for low-paid families and exemption for care leavers. It's true, government cuts on an unprecedented scale are bound to have an impact, and we want all parties to work together to fight for an end to austerity so that residents get the services they deserve. But I am proud of what we've been able to deliver in moderate Labour Merton, and I support this budget.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this Tory government has cut funding to councils by more than half since 2010, making it increasingly difficult for us to provide the services our residents deserve. Over the years, we've had to make more difficult choices. However, due to our business-like approach of budgeting, we've continued to succeed year on year. I am pleased that we are prioritising special educational needs in this budget. The Cricket Green expansion is progressing well and on target to be available from September 2019. I have spoken with Celia Dawson, the head teacher, and she is very pleased with the work. There is an increased number of children and young people requiring special educational needs provision. Over the last 3 years, there has been a 30% increase in the number of children transported by taxi. Therefore, in addition to the Cricket Green expansion, additional funding has been included in the capital program for the creation of additional special educational needs provision in future years. These will include a secondary school autism unit, a primary social, emotional, and mental health medical PRU, and a new ASD provision. Providing these places will lead to more of our children receiving high-quality education in Borough and closer to home. Last September saw the opening of a new secondary school on this temporary site on Wadley Avenue, but with a new building soon to go up in South Wimbledon as a permanent site. Madam Mayor, over 90% of children and young people living in Merton attend schools that are rated good and outstanding. Our schools have become very popular. On Offer Day, which was just last week, Friday, 1st March, our schools were oversubscribed. However, I'm proud to say that we were able to offer 66% of young people their first choice, and 85.5% of our young people received one of their top 3 preferences. Madam Mayor, the Department for Education has released the unvalidated GCSE outcomes for 2018, and again, Merton has done well, coming within the top 10 in the country for its progress score. I would like to end by giving you some good news stories. You've heard some already, but Joseph Hood and St. Mark's primary schools received letters from the Secretary of State congratulating them for their pupils' progress scores, which placed them in the top 10 in the country as a whole. Also, Rutledge and Rickards Lodge have been recognized within the Mayor of London's Schools for Success group, again because of their strong outcomes. Madam Mayor, these successes are made possible because this council prioritizes the development and well-being of Merton's children at a time when we face unprecedented cuts in government funding. I am pleased to recommend a budget which ensures that Merton continues to be a great place for families. Thank you.
Councillor Braun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I spent today with the Children's Schools and Family Staff Conference up at Merton College. We've been sharing our successes, but also discussing our vision for the future of the department. As expected, one of the key concerns was council finances in the context of a national picture of inadequate funding and increased demand. Across the country, councils have suffered a 29% cut in government funding just for children's services from 2010, which is the equivalent of £3 billion. This is on top of the ongoing wide editorial austerity that means children in Merton are being shut out of the basics, like warm clothes and having friends over for tea. They're still more vulnerable to the toxic trio of parental ill health and substance misuse and domestic abuse. They're still more likely to get involved in gangs who offer the money or gifts that their parents and carers can't afford in return for being trafficked to run drugs along county lines, running the risk of knife crime or keeping quiet about sexual exploitation. And honestly, only changes to national policy and a prioritisation of children and families can turn the tide on the demand for children's services, as factors fuelling the need for help and influencing spend, such as rising child poverty and deprivation, are not actually within local authorities' gift to change. Very soon there will be nowhere left to go. Some councils are already there. Here in Merton, we are already a low-cost and high-outcome department. And you can be sure that Merton is doing the most we can with the little that we're given. But even with favourable saving targets, the Children's Schools and Families need to find £3.62 million over the next 4 years. And we still have £2.6 million to find, and that means that hard decisions will have to be made. We're working hard to innovate and reshape our services to make savings and efficiencies. And firstly, we are looking at better ways of working that also happen to save us money, whilst improving the outcomes to children, which is always at the heart of what we do, including things like the Regional Adoption Agency, social impact bonds, and the Family Drug and Alcohol Court. We recognise the need to provide high-quality universal services, but we will have to focus particularly on the more vulnerable children and young people to enable them to achieve just comparable life outcomes. And so as a result of this budget, we can continue to help the most vulnerable people in our society and build a Merton that works for our families. We can help people like the mum who worked with her practitioner to create a storyboard about her mental health and how it's impacted on her ability to look after her son. Now they read the story together when he needs reminding about her mental health and why he's not living at home. Like the young carer who said that the carer support workers understood her. She didn't have to pretend. She could feel like rubbish, and they had talking sessions just for her about physical and mental illness, which were really helpful and made sure that she didn't feel pitied. Like the young man who, by 18, was at significant risk of involvement in county lines activity. As a result of our Towards Employment pilot, he now has a 3-year apprenticeship, giving him a belief in the future that he wants. Just a car and a home that's safe for his family. He also wanted to stress that if he wasn't doing this placement, he would be doing bad things, 100%. And we will continue to be pioneering, as shown by our commitment to mental health trailblazers, contextual safeguarding pilots, and introducing the council tax exemption for care leavers in Merton, just to name a few. So we're not complacent. We recognise the financial challenge that we face, but we are ambitious for all our children. So we're building a Merton where every single child and their family can access the crucial services that they need to thrive.
We will now take the amendments in turn. So, Councillor McLean, please, will you formally move the Conservative budget amendment?
I formally move.
Seconder, Councillor Williams, do you wish to speak?
Do you wish me to speak now?
Sorry. If you wish to speak, Councillor Williams, yes. Thank you. Councillor Fairclough, please, will you formally move the Liberal Democrat budget amendment 1, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Formally move amendment number 1.
Seconder, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Formally second.
Councillor Fairclough, will you formally move the Liberal Democrat budget amendment 2?
I will formally move number 2.
Councillor Bailey.
Formally second, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Fairclough, please formally move the Liberal Democrat budget amendment 3.
Unsurprisingly, formally move.
Councillor Bailey. Councillor Fairclough, please will you formally move the Liberal Democrat amendment 4.
And finally, formally move amendment number 4.
And Councillor Bailey.
Finally, formally, I can't remember my words now. Formally move amendment number 4. You've got it, right, so we've got that.
I will now open up the floor to members for the main debate. So first we will call on Councillor Christie, who is making his maiden speech tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for allowing me to make my maiden speech in this very important debate. I'm proud to be able to stand here tonight as one of the 3 Labour councillors for Lavender Fields Ward, alongside my fellow councillors, Councillors Allison and Macaulay. Between them, they have given almost 40 years of service to the residents of Lavender Fields Ward, and I very much look forward to following in their footsteps and working hard for the people that we represent. I'd also like to take a moment, Madam Mayor, to pay tribute to my immediate predecessor, former Councillor Ross Garrett. For the remainder of my time as a member of this council, I hope to be able to make even a small amount of the impact that he did during his 4 years as a councillor. Madam Mayor, over the past 10 months as a councillor, I've heard directly from many residents about what it is that they want from us. And first and foremost, residents expect the borough that they live in to be a good, safe place to bring up their families, which is exactly what is being delivered by this Labour budget before us tonight. To list just a few of the ways that we are making Merton a great place for families, as has been said, we're opening a new secondary school. The rest of the schools in the borough have been ranked at the top of the progress rankings. A brand new leisure centre has been recently built. 5 parks across Merton now have green flag awards. All of our libraries have been kept open, and a brand new library has been built in Colliers Wood. Merton is a great place for families to live, and that is thanks to this Labour administration. But, Madam Mayor, let's not kid ourselves that this has been easy. This has all been achieved in the climate of massive, unprecedented cuts to our funding from the Conservatives and coalition government. And now tonight, the opposition parties come here with their irresponsible amendments to our fully costed, fully scrutinised budget, trying to score political points off the back of a frankly contemptuous attitude to local government over the last 9 years. Take the issue of Merton Music Foundation, for example. They bring an amendment calling on us to find the money for the great work that Merton Music Foundation undoubtedly do across schools in Merton. Yet they show absolutely no recognition, never mind contrition, for the fact that it is the Conservative government that has stopped the funding that was designated for MMF. Where are their complaints about that? What a damning indictment of the approach taken by Conservative councillors to say not a word about the local government funding crisis their own party has caused, but to try and score cheap political points off the back of it. So, Madam Mayor, it is the Labour administration that is clearing up the mess that the Conservative government are making of local council funding. We are working with the Merton Music Foundation to ensure that they have a pathway through to a sustainably funded future, demonstrating the business-like approach that this Labour administration has taken since day one. Madam Mayor, I therefore stand here tonight on behalf of the residents in my ward and on behalf of this Labour administration to support the budget before us this evening. Despite the challenges we face and the cuts to our funding, this budget is good for the residents of Lavender Fields, good for the residents of our borough, and I look forward to the substantive budget being passed by this council very shortly. Thank you.
Councillor Ormer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Merton Music Foundation is a charitable company that each week delivers 1,300 lessons and teaches 2,000 children in Merton primary schools. The jewel in their musical calendar is a 2-yearly sell-out Royal Albert Hall concert, which features a primary choir of 1,200 young people drawn from 18 schools across Merton. This is just a small fraction of what this organisation does for the community in Merton. Furthermore, it has been proven that having a little bit of music in your life every day can be good for reducing stress and anxiety. And music is an invaluable resource when it comes to children's mental health. The council currently fund the Merton Music Foundation just £46,000 per annum, which this year is set to half and next year disappear completely. I spoke with Elizabeth Wigley, Chief Executive of Merton Music Foundation, earlier this week, and she is incredibly concerned about the disappearance of a link with the borough and is keen for it to be maintained. As this local authority is now intent on removing the funding, it raises the borough's connection to the foundation, and also, alarmingly, as its funding is core to the foundation's funding, may negatively impact the foundation's ability to raise and attract external funding. Can the council not, in some way, retain at least £23,000 to maintain a connection to this fabulous foundation that does so much for the community? I draw on the council to change their decision to no longer support financially, mainly because they will actually struggle to gain external funding without that support. Thank you.
Councillor Skeet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to speak tonight, commending the balance in the budget which has been produced through huge amount of work by councillors and officers. I've always been impressed, as I know colleagues are, by Martin's detailed scrutiny process, giving elected members from all parties the opportunity to scrutinize influence budget decisions. In spite of increasing financial pressures, this budget shows how Council's priority, as well as providing statutory services and ensuring care for the most vulnerable in our borough. It's a bit confusing somewhat, Madam Mayor, to see the Liberal Democrats presenting an array of new ideas, hot off the press. For your our pleasure, it hasn't been introduced at any point during the 6-month process of drawing up the budget received for a study. Madam Mayor, let's be very clear. This council, like councils up and down the country, is suffering year on year from drastic cuts to our budgets. And year on year, this council, through hard work and diligence, put together a budget that protects our residents and continue to help Morden thrive as a place for families to live, work and play. I would say keep up the good work and let's make the best out of a bad situation. Thank you.
Councillor Morden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm backing the Conservative budget amendment tonight, and in particular, I want to speak about recommendation 1E, removing the parking tax, as I shall insist on calling it. This 3.8 million of income generation was debated at the Sustainable Community Scrutiny Panel back in January, where we heard from individuals, resident groups, green sustainability groups, and the business community, all of whom were against these Labour proposals. It is quite rare that we get a situation where a whole myriad of individuals and groups were of one combined voice and against Labour. But to their shame, the Labour members just rolled over and went to the Cabinet and wrote down my very modest references. The parking tax in your budget shouldn't even be here, it shouldn't be listed. It has not been consulted on with the public yet, whom again you are trying to keep in the dark, like you did with the diesel tax 2 years ago. It is therefore prejudicing the outcome of the consultation and the shocking abuse of power. Can we assume that you, Councillor Ambrisses, intend to gerrymander the results like you did with the adult social care public consultation a few years ago? On that occasion, you yourself was caught red-handed with your hands in the till. The parking tax is also unjust, unfair, and a blatant cash raid on Morden and Mains Park. And I concur with the Conservative member for Dundonald, Councillor David Dean, at the last meeting, who said this is just a tax for voting the wrong way. So, this tax is unequally burdened to residents in the Western Borough. This tax is a tax on business, a tax on transport for the elderly, disabled and families with young children. Public transport options are not always appropriate for these routes, and your equality impact assessment glosses over this point. This tax will hurt people from lower socio-economic backgrounds who cannot just go out and buy a new car or give up driving altogether at the top of a hat. This is not fair and is being viewed by residents in Merton as discriminatory. This Labour Council treats residents and motorists as a cash cow scheme by their aggressive use of poorly laid out bus lanes, such as Hartfield Road and the one outside Tesco Metro London Town Centre, all to fill your own black hole in the budget. In fact, parking services income, as mentioned in the Sustainable Communities indicators, as of January this year, stood at 15.6 million, 1.6 million more than your own target. It was 15.5 million last year and 11.1 million the year before that. On your current trends, you will be raising nearly 20 million per year by the end of 2020. And we oppose these Labour parking taxes, and we urge all the members here in the chamber tonight to back our amendment. Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's galling to be standing here looking at the cuts and the savings that are being planned, when just a few months ago the Prime Minister grandly pronounced the supposed end of austerity. The fact is, austerity could well have been over if it wasn't for the shambolic Tory Brexit fiasco we find ourselves in. We found out this week we spent £2.7 billion on Merton's own Chris Grayling alone, including £33 million for ferries that don't exist and never did. While we're sat here looking at scraping together a few £1,000s by charging disabled people for the blue badges they need just to get around. Our own MP has a shiny new job at the very department that should be sorting out the mess of our social care system. Yet, as we know from the budget proposals in front of us, it clearly isn't. Instead, he's put in charge of ordering the fridges to store all the medicines we're not going to have when the government lurches us off the cliff of a catastrophic no-deal Brexit. In light of all of this, we've tried to come up with targeted, workable proposals for our amendments. We think it is possible this year not to implement charges for blue badges. The money generated is small in budget terms, and it can be found in contingency or reserves. We can then look again next year for ways to ensure this isn't necessary at all. I know from speaking to residents and from my own family the value blue badges have in helping support people's independence, and we should not put more barriers in the way lightly. Now, I was a branch secretary of a union in the civil service many years ago, but I do think if we're getting to the bleeding edge of cuts to services, and we are, then everything has to be on the table. So yes, maybe Unison could give less to the Labour Party and fund more of their own officers' time, so we can pay to keep 2 children's support workers at Bond Road. And they in turn could help the people that really need it. We do need to do more to invest in new ways of doing things, despite what Cabinet members may have said. Setting up a fund to support innovation in health and wellbeing could help unlock savings in the future. And importantly, help us better support people to remain more independent themselves. So, I urge councillors from across the chamber to back all of our amendments. And I urge you in particular to put party colours aside and back our amendments 1 and 2, which could have a real and sustainable impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Draper.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Before I start, I'd like to try to answer the unpleasant slurs made by Councillor McLean about Merton Lady's Appleton heritage. Because he did so knowing full well that we're bringing the cannons back to life with the Successful Heritage Fund. He knows we've helped the Priory Trust bring the chapter house around. He knows we're about to open a new park in Village Ward, a gift to the people of Merton. He knows that as far as heritage is concerned, we have nothing to be ashamed of on this side. Now, I'm going to talk very quickly about the 3 of the many things that I do care about: music, trees and football. First of all, music. Specifically, Merton Music Foundation. I love what they do, and they've helped, and they still help, many of our children achieve great things. And I was grateful when the government funded them properly through the Direct Schools grant, and I was upset that the Tory government chose to cut that grant, and really unhappy that last we've had to pass that government cut onto Merton Music Foundation. Doesn't mean we don't appreciate them, far from it. It means that thanks to government cuts, we just can't afford to subsidise them anymore. Second of all, trees, and specifically planting more street trees, which is what the Tory amendment effectively calls for. Street trees are one of the biggest causes of complaint I get as a ward councillor. Residents tell me that they like trees in general, but not the ones in front of their house. So could you cut it down, please? Well, no, we're not going to do that, but it does make us think twice about planting more of them. For a start, they're relatively difficult and therefore expensive to keep alive. For a second, when they do grow, they do need constant cutting back. And then, some people still complain about them anyway. In short, the cost of planting a tree in a hostile environment, that's a good phrase, may be minimal, but the cost of keeping it can be huge. It makes far more sense to plant trees in our parks and in our green spaces, and that's what we do. Finally, football and Little Leagues again. I'm proud that the Little League was founded here 50 years ago last year in Morden. I believe it's offered an outstanding opportunity for our children to develop their sporting and team-building abilities. The Conservatives and the Lib Dem groups objected last year to our decision after 50 years of subsidy to pass the cost that Ivy Verde had placed on maintaining our marking out our grounds onto the Little League. Madam Mayor, they're still objecting tonight. They don't object to Lib Dem Sutton charging the Little League, as they have for many years. They don't object to Tory Wandsworth charging the Little League, as they always have. And they don't object to Kingston and its constant whiff-whack between Liberal and Tory from charging the Little League as they do. For some reason, it's different here in Labour and Merton, and not in relatively deprived Mitcham, where the League sadly ceased functioning long before these charges were brought in, but in Lower Morden, and in Cannon Hill, and in West Barnes. Now, I know what that reason is. It has nothing to do with deprivation. It's a cynical ploy to blame this council for the position the Tory government and the Alliance government before it has forced us into. Madam Mayor, this budget deals with that unenviable position. And though some of our decisions are very, very difficult, we take them calmly, we take them openly, and we take them in a business-like manner. In so doing, we protect those in our community in real need, and we will not be deflected from that by cynical amendments from the opposition. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thanks very much, Madam Mayor. Smoke and mirrors propaganda, utter rubbish. We now know what trees are for. As if we didn't know. The reason we worry about Merton, guess what? We're Merton councillors. We don't spend that time in Kingston and Sutton. But anyway, I know we're teaching you quite a few things tonight, but Madam Mayor, recent full council meeting, I had to highlight the fact that Labour's air quality action plan didn't have any action in it. Worse still, things are actually going backwards. See, we all know on this side that trees are good for air quality, something the cabinet members are starting to understand. But are you planting more, even in your parks? No. There's no action at all because the tree budget is being cut. So, really, your plan is one of inaction. It's propaganda. Madam Mayor, it's lies in any other walk of life. The truth is, the budgets are being cut. And whilst we hear the trees are fundamental to Merton, as we know, and we heard tonight, every Labour document, every speech is smoke and mirrors. You couldn't say a positive thing about trees, you couldn't say a positive thing about football, because you aren't capable. Because frankly, Labour, you don't have a positive bone in your collective body. So, here's a simple idea. I understand now, things do have to be very simple for some governments. That we could put at least one point of action in that action plan. And the Good Conservatives propose that we add £20,000 to our tree budget and plant trees around schools and improve the air quality for school kids. Now, some of those might be in the streets. Now, that's a terrible thing, but that's what might have to happen because there are some streets near some schools. And there is no complicated procedure. All you need to do is go to Bartram to the current tree supplier, bung them a few bob, and arrange for the contractor to plant them. And nothing is stopping you except Labour negativity. And let's put one of your real terrible misdemeanours right, and that's helping out the thousands of boys and girls and 85 volunteers to get free football through little leagues across Merton. As I said at a recent council meeting, contrary to the slur that we just heard, I was lucky as a kid to play little league football on St Andrew Estate. But my mum and dad couldn't afford to pay any fees at all. Now, little leagues gave me sport and competition in a friendly atmosphere on a difficult housing estate. And if you have children, you will know that all the paid-for clubs in this area are full of families with a few quid. Poorer kids who can't play end up on the streets or stuck at home. Your actions perpetuate a breakdown of community and an obesity crisis. And the simple proposals here improve Merton for the better. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor String.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's exciting as a new councillor to be here playing my small role in ensuring that council balances the budget. It would be more exciting if we weren't having to make such difficult decisions about savings to be made. Decisions being forced on us by the Tory government's disdain for local authorities. The savings that worry me most are those that could affect the most vulnerable in our borough. And I see my job as to speak up for those people, such as ensuring that the proposed changes to the services for children with complex SEND are carefully managed, so they don't affect the lives of the families and children, but do deliver the savings required. I don't see the opposition focusing on those. They're focusing on trying to counter decisions that have already been made and voted on by full council, like the need for Little League to now cover the cost of using our parks and facilities. Madam Mayor, I love the Little League. It's incredible how a group of committed volunteers can provide such an amazing opportunity for children across the borough. One of those children is my own daughter. My 5-year-old Tess has been a regular attendee, an enthusiastic one, at Collier's Wood Little League since last year, when she was one of the youngest girls playing there. She was in a huge minority by being a girl, which is such a shame because the girls' training sessions are great fun and the games are really high quality. Do you know what most of her girlfriends are doing when she's at Little League on Saturday morning? They're at ballet or dance classes. And what are their parents paying for those? At most providers, it works out about £10 per lesson. Collier's Wood Little League, on the other hand, has only ever asked for £10 per year. Now, I'm a representative of one of the most deprived wards in Wimbledon, so I'm well aware that even that is a barrier to some families. And my understanding and my experience is that Little League would never turn away somebody who couldn't support that. And I don't know about the other leagues, but Collier's Wood hasn't increased this in light of the challenge. Instead, they've continued their impressive fundraising, which I'm happy to support. And even if they did have to raise it, it would be unlikely to get to the level as it is in Lyvedon Sutton, where they expect families to contribute £35 a year, or the higher fees in Lyvedon Kingston or Tory Chatham, who ask for £60 or £80 a year. Madam Mayor, I will support Little League in whatever way I can. I'm aware that Collier's Wood League may be in a different position to the larger Morden League, and I'd happily work with them to ensure that no family is put off attending because of any changes that they may have to introduce. But I will also be supporting this budget, which has been carefully put together by my colleagues to ensure that we are protecting our vital services and prioritising the services for the most disadvantaged in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Labour often make two claims. One, that they are the victim of government cuts, and two, they are a business-like council. My colleague, Councillor McLean, has already spoken about the Conservative Deficit Reduction Programme, and the business case was and remains irrefutable. So, where does that leave local government? The answer is simple and obvious. Councillors opposite must make choices about priorities, and they must ensure they obtain value for money. This should be easy for a business-like party, but with Merton under Labour, we see a lack of financial monitoring and numerous examples of mismanagement, a few of which we Conservatives propose to correct in our motion this evening. Of course, Labour do attempt to monitor spend against budget, but consequential actions are ineffective. For example, at the end of December, the Council had full-time equivalent roles of 1,958 people. But 9% of these roles were unfulfilled, and 10% of these roles were filled by temporary staff. Can there be a worse example of mismanagement and bad business practice? Well, sadly, the answer to that is maybe. Consider the Virgin Active Gym at Battle Close. Virgin decided to shut it down and they surrendered the lease. Might we reasonably expect compensation? No, exactly the reverse. Unbudgeted costs borne by the council amount to £673,000. Unbelievable. Madam Mayor, Labour are not business-like, they are just bad at business. Thank you.
Councillor Delaney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, we in Merton.TV, and indeed, we should be very proud of the achievements of this borough under Labour administration. Now, I know we've mentioned this before, but I have to repeat it. Notwithstanding huge cuts in government funding, we have given council tax rebate to families on low income. We have maintained elderly care and children's services, and opening a new secondary school in South Wimbledon with a new building. Madam Mayor, there will always be some who will be critical of our achievements, but we know that the majority of our residents are happy with what we are doing in spite of the cuts the Tory government has inflicted on us since 2010. In Bradeney Ward, of course, which I am one of the councils, residents are telling us that they have no complaints about the administration's stewardship of the borough, and they expect us to continue maintaining and improve services. Therefore, Madam Mayor, it gives me great pleasure indeed to say that this is a budget for the borough's families, which I'm very happy to support.
Councillor Breton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, a few years back, Madam Mayor, the elected cabinet of this council declared very proudly two objectives, and I think it's worth reminding everybody in this chamber, Madam Mayor, what they were. First of all, they declared they were going to keep the streets clean, Madam Mayor. Secondly, they declared very loudly they were going to keep the council tax low. Madam Mayor, the leadership of this council makes a lot of very bold statements, and we're happy to help scrutinise those statements, Madam Mayor. They also claim to be very businesslike as a cabinet, Madam Mayor. We keep hearing that. And again, very happy to challenge them on that, particularly, Madam Mayor, when it comes to the Veolia contract. And I'll just say a few words about that, and so we can consider it really as a business-like management. We heard, Madam Mayor, how the council was going to make £1 million a year cost savings on the Veolia contract. And we've seen all the budget papers, thousands of pages, Madam Mayor, over the last couple of months. But the one number which they don't show you, Madam Mayor, in those budget papers is the spend on Veolia. And what's clear from there is actually, for the full year 17 to 18, that the overspend on the Veolia contract was actually nearly £1 million, Madam Mayor. And this year, it's hundreds of thousands of pounds overspend, Madam Mayor. What sort of cost saving is that? And why is that number missing from the budget papers that have been put before us, Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor, what we don't hear as well about the Veolia contract is about the fines and the deductions, Madam Mayor. And what the Cabinet doesn't tell us, of course, Madam Mayor, is that the Council Cabinet did not organise and prioritise keeping a proper record of the failings of Veolia, and that's why those fines are being hidden from the public of Merton, Madam Mayor. They're ashamed to mention them because Veolia hasn't accepted them. There's even threatened legal proceedings now, Madam Mayor, because the Council Cabinet did not prioritise keeping the correct evidence to back up those fines. Even now, Madam Mayor, we hear talk from the business-like Cabinet about the improved offering there in discussion with Veolia. And that should set the alarm bells ringing, Madam Mayor, for every single person and resident. Because what that means is Councillor Allison, so generous with his monthly cheque to Veolia of £500,000, is thinking of paying them even more money, it seems, Madam Mayor, with the improved offering, should we call it, with Veolia. What sort of business-like management is that, Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor, I do hope that one day the Council really finds the courage to pick up the Veolia contract. Here it is again, Madam Mayor. I suspect this is as close as the Council's Cabinet has ever got to the contract, Madam Mayor. Maybe one day they will pick it up and find the courage to read it, Madam Mayor, and then they'll read it's a contract with a €25 billion company that guarantees clean streets for the residents of Merton. Madam Mayor, we've seen a massive council tax increase, 6%. The unforgivable Wimbledon tax of nearly £2 million a year on those who actually have a car. But out of the council's budget of £540 million, Madam Mayor, they can't even find £9,000 for Little League football, £23,000 for the music support for disadvantaged children. Madam Mayor, our budget supports families, our budget makers. Please support this vote in favour. Thank you.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm extremely proud to have represented the residents of Pollardton for 5 years in this loving borough. But, Madam Mayor, it breaks my heart that every year we all come here to set a council budget which is steadily being starved by the Conservative government. Setting a balanced budget in these times is an enormous challenge, and every year the council rises to the challenge. It is so impressive that with this lack of care from the government, still Merton Council is able to set a budget which protects those services for the most vulnerable in our society. Merton has good children's services, good schools, and several libraries staying open with other less fortunate boroughs suffer closely. Also managed to keep our 2 youth centres open, one in Palarzell. The council finds new innovative ways to even improve services, such as taking fresh look at lunch provision so that it is modernized for our residents' services then in the best possible way. Madam Mayor, our residents deserve the best we can give them, and this balanced budget is the best we can get in these extremely challenging times. Thank you.
Councillor Adam Bush.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, to cut funding that delivers over 1,300 instrumental and vocal lessons to 2,000 children in Merton primary schools each week is deeply and utterly unfair and unjust. Madam Mayor, I quote from a year child in Year 5 of SS Peter and Paul Church of England School, who says, and I quote, "I have loved singing with all my friends and learning new songs. Our rehearsals have been really exciting." I further quote from another Year 5 pupil from Holy Trinity School, "The songs are so nice and tell you a great story. It's very catching and fun learning new things." Madam Mayor, to reduce funding to just £23,000 from April 2019 and totally eradicating and stopping all funding from 2020 will stop and prevent thousands of children from being able to have the gateway to change their lives and unlocking their personal potential growth. Madam Mayor, music inspires our young people. It helps with mental health and social interactions, their confidence and even their future livelihoods and careers. Madam Mayor, brutally cutting the Merton Music Foundation and the lack of action to improve air quality is and will only be recognised as a huge success by this administration. Madam Mayor, this Conservative amendment holds and brings communities together, and it does not leave the less privileged lagging further behind by supporting Merton Music Foundation and not withdrawing funds. I ask all colleagues from all parties tonight to support us and vote with us to improve air quality by allowing 350 trees to be planted. Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am very positive about this Labour budget and its business-like approach to setting the budget for the year ahead. Seems the Leader of the Opposition, from his speech, Madam Mayor, is very negative about tax. In fact, he hates it, as he told us. He isn't so negative about tax when it's council tax for the poorest people in this borough, which he insists they should pay, against the advice of this side of the council, and our budget, which relieves the poorest in the borough from paying council tax. So he's negative about tax, he hates tax, except when it's the poorest who have to pay it. The Leader of the Opposition describes himself to us as a small businessman. We on this side take responsibility and are the party of a business-like approach. And so, without the business-like, surely all the leader of the opposition has left is that it is a small man.
Councillor Ormer-Bush, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, after providing free football for over 50 years throughout this borough to tens of thousands of boys and girls, this Labour-run administration has finally decided to show its true colours and introduce charges for our kids playing Little Leagues. Madam Mayor, this poor decision has once again highlighted how this Labour-run administration is for the few and not the many. With their decision tonight hitting the poorest in our borough, meaning the Popular League will have to bring in charges penalising hard-pressed parents and putting the future of the league at risk. The decision by this Labour administration is nothing but short-sighted. Obesity amongst 7 to 13-year-olds is epidemic, with 23% of Year 6 children in London being obese. This is 3% higher than in the UK. Yes, I say obese. Madam Mayor, the rest of England is 3% lower. Whilst our boroughs are being whilst other boroughs are being proactive in tackling obesity, this Labour administration has decided to charge the Little Leagues. How can they commit to goals of health and well-being while they are negligent and not tackling the issue but creating it? Football is a sport that is universal and allows children of all abilities to play. How can we as a nation of football players and supporters stunt the future growth, health and well-being of our children across Merton? What will these children do on a Saturday morning? Who will train them? How will they aspire to be professional football players or even merely keep fit and healthy? This Labour-run Merton Council has the opportunity tonight to rewrite previous wrong, and we also hope that my colleagues behind me, who have reiterated on many occasions the importance of putting residents ahead of party politics, will be supporting the Conservative Labour tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was inspired to become a councillor when my son, who has speech and language needs, was not getting enough support at school because of funding shortages. I really worry about his future and the future of all children. This is why I am passionate in wanting to do something positive and helpful in this budget. Necessity is the mother of invention, and so as a mother and a Merton Liberal Democrat, I put forward this amendment demonstrating our longer-term thinking of being creative and coming up with pragmatic solutions that improve our children's future as well as the lives of all our residents. Rather than take money from the reserve, our proposals are about being clever with money, having sensible solutions and learning from other councils. So we are proposing that the council look at ways in which a strategic roads fund like Stockport's could be set up. We could fix our roads now and cut costs on patching potholes in future. This is a small change that could make a massive difference to people who live in areas like West Lance that feel they are neglected. Our proposal for an education innovation fund paid for by a voluntary council tax donation like in Westminster is for new ideas in education and provides help for those educational support groups our children and parents rely on who have had their grants cut, such as Merton Music and those having to pay pitch fees like Little League. And as well as having access to educational opportunities, we want our families to live in comfortable homes without the threat of eviction hanging over them. In fact, we want all our residents in the private rental sector to feel safe. And this is why we're introducing a self-funding landlord licensing scheme, just like they have in Newham. Finally, our amendment underlines absolute necessity of effective scrutiny, so I am praying for a miracle here, that the council makes a decision to back our proposals, bring enormous benefits to the people of Merton, who we all serve with great pride.
Councillor Lennon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I want to talk about why parking charges have to be an integral part of any policy to prevent avoidable deaths in our borough. Madam Mayor, we are living at a time where we are making some of the most important and exciting scientific advances, equipping us with the knowledge and the tools to prevent what were, until 10 years ago, the biggest causes of death in the UK. Madam Mayor, at least 7,000 people in England are alive today that wouldn't have been had we not, as a society, taken a stand on tobacco. And the crisis in air quality is no different. More than 10,000 people in London alone die every year from stroke, lung cancer and asthma as a result of air pollution. Much of this might be outside our control as a local authority, but surely it is only right, Madam Mayor, that we take a stand and use all the levers at our disposal to prevent those premature deaths. That's why we have already taken action. It's why we have already deployed real-time air quality monitors, why we're introducing another 31 electric vehicle charging points this year, and have already started to pilot school super zones, among more than 65 other initiatives as part of the Council's Air Quality Action Plan, to look after the most vulnerable in our borough. But, Madam Mayor, with 60% of all the harmful emissions in our borough coming from vehicles, we also have to be prepared to take the steps to tackle car usage if we really want to tackle air quality. And what that means, Madam Mayor, is showing leadership. Like when we introduced the diesel levy 2 years ago to tackle the most polluting vehicles on our streets. Or the parking charges we're about to consult on to tackle the major contributor to poor air quality in our borough. Leadership is about taking the right decisions, not the easy decisions. Leadership is not about objecting to any measure that could have a discernible impact on air quality, and instead proposing measures that read like gestures, such as planting trees. It is about taking a stand to enable our residents and their families to live longer, healthier, active lives, while simultaneously reducing the number of life-changing injuries from road traffic accidents, and helping to stop the simple acts of breathing continuing to cause the death of 6.5% of our fellow residents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Andrew Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's only a few weeks since I last stood before you, so please first allow me to apologise for any disrespect I may have unintentionally communicated on that occasion. I'd likened those proceedings to a radio game show, just a minute, as Labour continually deviated from the subject on the card. Now, Madam Mayor, you were generously tolerant, but on the basis that your successor may be less forgiving, I'll push my luck, if I may, one more time. The subject on the card tonight is, of course, Labour's budget and their knee-jerk tendency to blame everything that is wrong on Tory austerity. On austerity which, as Councillor McLean pointed out, was anything but an invention of the Conservatives. Indeed, I think I can take to the slip of the tongue from the other side of the chamber this evening, where someone inadvertently acknowledged that it was the Conservative government having to make some difficult choices. But still, I find myself circling back to the tiresomely familiar theme of Mucky Merton. Councillor Merton has applied already a forensic eye to the poorly managed contract with Veolia, a contract which appears to have left the current administration either hamstrung or too intimidated to enforce the necessary fines for non-performance. If, and that's a big if Veolia's performance has begun to improve in certain areas, then we are left to wonder how much sooner that might have been achieved if Labour had dealt with them more robustly by levying those fines. We are also left to wonder how those fines might have helped avoid the cuts that we are now challenging. We are even more left to wonder why Labour is so much more inclined to fine the residents of Merton, and particularly those of Wimbledon and Rains Park, for such heinous crimes as illegally parking a car near to their home. I'll sign off this broadcast with reference to another radio game show with the appropriate title, Fighting Talk. The final round challenges contestants to defend the indefensible, but I think that the best of them would be defeated by the prospect of trying to defend Labour's financial mismanagement. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Balanced, scrutinised by across the chamber, and many colleagues I know personally have been part of those discussions. The numbers contained in this 389-page document only tell half the story. Behind these numbers are residents, the people we have to represent and serve. My colleague Kelly Braun already given many examples of success from her own department, and here's another. Edward was relocated to my ward of Pollard Hill from his home in order to avoid gang violence. He was welcomed into Merton. With the support of the council's funded youth centre, he has the support now and the network available to turn his life around. And this is all as a result of Labour's 9 years of good management of finances and prioritising the needs of residents so they can enjoy our borough. I welcome Councillor McLean to his new role, but hoped he would, and his front bench and his colleagues would have given credit where credit's due on maintaining a sound budget in difficult times rather than personal attacks. I also welcome the new Lib Dems to their first budget. We have something in common. One part I hope they can clear up though in later speeches. They've criticised the Tories for using reserves, but don't they, in their own comments, they are using the very same reserves? So despite the challenges, I'm very, very pleased to be voting for this budget later on and ask all colleagues to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to be supporting this budget tonight. As we've already heard this evening, the Council and local government as a whole are in extraordinary times with astonishing cuts to their funding, just at a time when every council, including this one, is finding high pressures on its services. As councillors I've heard already, I am going through my first budget this evening and through the scrutiny process that's happened over the last few weeks. I'd take solace, though it was a very difficult procedure, choosing between things to cut and efficiencies to find. I take solace, though, in this council's ability to find a budget that actually works for families in these trying times. Also, it very much includes, as we've heard, the great schools that we already run, but also the new school that is being delivered in my own part of the borough, South Wimbledon, providing for the increased need in secondary school places and securing a great proposed building at the centre of the borough. This is exactly what we've been hearing is needed in the area. We can see a flock of applications for this new school already, and families are excited about the new availability of spaces close to their homes. Keeping communities get together by building schools where they're needed is vital, whilst also planning to mitigate bad air quality across London. But what a better way to support budget for families. This, along with libraries, health and wellbeing groups, really keeps our children's opportunities open for the future, and that's why I support this budget. Thank you.
Councillor Angela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Am I passionate about improving air quality in the borough? Absolutely I am. Am I passionate about bridging the gap in the health and wealth inequalities between the east and the west of the borough? Absolutely I am. Would I like to see more trees planted to improve air quality and in turn improve the general health of the residents of Merton? Absolutely I would. Is 20k for 350 trees too high a price to pay to achieve these benefits? In principle, no. Is there another cheaper way to achieve the same goal without incurring any additional costs to the planting? Absolutely there is. So as the members opposite always lecturing us that if there is a cheaper, better, more efficient alternative, we should go down that avenue. Absolutely, I think we should. So I agree with working with developers during the planning process to include tree planting in their landscaping, taking the long-term maintenance into account. This was an issue brought to my scrutiny panel, which was discussed and resolved. and that's exactly what the scrutiny process is for. Members across the Chamber have opportunities to engage throughout the budget setting process. Madam Mayor, I commend this budget and the achievement of this Council in the face of Tory government cuts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks to the action of the Conservative government, ably assisted by their Liberal Democrat stooges in their first 5 years, we have seen our budget continually cut and having to make huge savings. We have had to make many difficult decisions throughout that time. Choices that in better financial times we wouldn't have had to take. But throughout that process, we have taken into account July principles set out in 2011, protecting the vulnerable as our top priority, and fairness. But despite tough times, I am also proud of the achievements of the Labour administration. Opening a new state-of-the-art swimming pool in Morden, rolling out a 20-mile-per-hour zone in the borough, providing an additional 21 forms of entry in primary schools and the go-ahead of the new secondary school, the £1.2 billion regeneration of High Park, Ravensbury and Eastfields, which has been given the go-ahead by this council, which will see better housing to help address overcrowding and needs, whilst also providing jobs and apprenticeships. In a city where homelessness has become endemic with 54,000 in temporary accommodation, here in Merton we have the lowest numbers in London at 180, and still too many for me, but a big contrast to some councils where the figure is over 3,000. And a council tax support rebate scheme which has protected the poorest in our borough, and opposed, of course, by the Tory opposition, who seem to take pride in hitting the poorest members of our community. There may not be many people living in village and hillside who receive council tax support, but I can assure you this is much valued in my own ward of Pollard's Hill, where many of my constituents struggle to get by and are on low income. And now we turn to the Tory budget amendments here tonight. We have amendments which seek to ignore the impact that emissions from cars have on air quality by seeking to remove the £3.8 million measures aimed at making our air cleaner. These proposals are shortly to go out to consultation, but to seek to remove them from the budget now is wrong, because as a council we need to take seriously the impact that poor air quality has on the health of our residents. One of the savings they propose on Wimbledon Christmas car parking is not even a budgetary item, having been part of environment on the parking account taken during the last financial year. Instead of campaigning on cuts to the school budget, which the Tory opposition supported by not backing our motion last year, they have instead made Merton Music Foundation the source of their angst. Now I think Merton Music Foundation does a good job, but like with any council finances, they have to share collectively in the difficult decisions required. We then turn to the cobbled-together Liberal Democrat amendments. Not once have they been subject to any scrutiny in the council, and another example of making policy on the hoof despite the ample opportunity given to them in the budget process. Indeed, top of their list for cuts is trade union facility time, which help protect many workers and act as a voice for employees of the council. Not very liberal or democratic, but clearly their time in bed with the Tories has seen them adapting union-bashing policies. They have also thrown in a proposed spending of £50,000 for Strategic Road Fund. Now, as a council, we are looking at investors to save, but it can't be done on the back of the envelope that this proposal does. Tonight has seen many theatrics on display from the opposition parties. It is a budget that is family-friendly, whilst recognising the severe family financial straits that we face. I would urge Council to support the budgets and reject the opposition amendments, because we are proud of this Labour Council's achievements. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Williams.
For Councillor Allison, Remain vote Lavender 56.53%, Hillside including me 72.8%. Pity you didn't get a better result in Lavender. Madam Mayor, politics is about priorities and choices, and tonight the council tax levy increase of 5.8% in 1920, an overall increase of £133 over 2 years, 9.4%, 3 times the rate of CPI inflation. With due deference to my new leader, he may be the future untainted by the past, but I have got a good memory. From 1997 to 2006, council tax rose by 2.5 times the rate of inflation. Labour are back to their old tricks in Merton, and they can't avoid the cost of Khan in City Hall. By contrast, and following a specific strategy, the last Conservative administration put up council tax by £110 over 4 years, but that was less than inflation. How did this all come about? Head in the sand, I think, would be a good description, only this is what the administration called businesslike. It was not businesslike to ignore the end of the coalition government subsidy to keep council tax down. It was not businesslike to accumulate £10 million in reserves each year from 2010 to 14, when council taxpayers' money should have been paying for the services they needed, and which we propose to give back 10% over 4 years only. It was not businesslike to ignore the opportunity to modestly raise council tax when RSG was falling. And as the director told us last year, there could have been more than £20 million to protect and improve services if they had. It was not businesslike to screw up a public consultation on introducing the adult social care precept and misuse public funds for political purposes. And as you have formed, it should be no surprise that ahead of a public consultation on increased parking charges, it is not businesslike to window dress the medium-term financial strategy with an income source you have yet to secure. It was not businesslike to fail to refresh your strategy since July 2011. If Labour backbenchers, especially those elected last year, find this hard to believe, then think back to the director's earlier answer to the question about the balances. You can find the figures on page 329. For future years, reserves had £11 million as a starting point for 1st April 18. But at this meeting last year, the figure was given £5 million, a whole £6 million out. Not very businesslike, you might think, a help for future years may be, but you have been asked to make cuts that were not necessary, including small but politically sensitive ones, such as MMF and Little Ease. But what is undoubtedly unbusinesslike, is that the Cabinet do not ask for regular reports on the balances. We only see these once a year. So if you want to be really businesslike, give way to a leader who is a businessman. And in the meantime, row back on small but significant cuts, put proper money into your capital budget to improve air quality, dismantle window dressing, start understanding the real numbers, and vote for our amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've heard a great deal tonight about the financial challenges we face and the funding for. Merton is not unique in this respect. The LGIU State of Local Government Finance Survey, published last month, showed that 8 in 10 councils are not confident about their financial position. And yet, Madam Mayor, as we've already heard, the Prime Minister believes austerity is over. I wonder if the opposition share that assessment. Is austerity over for the 54,000 people who have died whilst waiting for care packages since the Social Care Green Paper was first announced? Is austerity over for the 320,000 people estimated to be homeless in the UK? Is austerity over for essential public services like the police, whose budget has been slashed with such devastating effect? The truth, Madam Mayor, is that this government is still failing millions of people, whatever the rhetoric from the Prime Minister, and it therefore falls to us to take the difficult decisions to ensure the Council remains sustainable. Madam Mayor, there are no easy solutions to this, and some of what we've heard tonight would suggest there are. I have some sympathy with what some of the amendments seek to achieve, but they have no sustainable source of funding. A wellbeing innovation fund sounds great in theory, but how does it work in practice? The Council is currently waiting for the Green Paper on adult social care and a commitment to the future of the Better Care Fund. The NHS is working its way through the implications of the long-term plan, a complex reconfiguration of CCGs, and savings of £6 million to deliver across South West London in the next 12 months. We are at the very early stages of exploring how we might work more closely together through Merton Health and Care Together, and that is the correct forum to do that. A last-minute amendment to the budget which is unsustainable and ill thought through is not, Madam Mayor. Similarly, there is nothing inherently wrong with a programme to green up our schools, and indeed we are already focused on a raft of measures designed to improve the air quality around a number of them. But we will not comprehensively tackle the poor air quality in this borough if we are not prepared to tackle car usage, and the opposition have opposed every measure designed to do this. Madam Mayor, there are no quick fixes, and without proper funding for local government, it is us who have to decide which services should be prioritised. But Madam Mayor, the achievements of this administration show what can be done even with the constraints imposed upon us. Whilst other authorities are closing them, we've opened a new leisure centre, a new library and a new day centre, all in the past 12 months. Whilst other authorities are failing to support the most vulnerable, we've not only retained the council tax support scheme, but we're introducing a new scheme for caretaker. Whilst other authorities are cutting support for the voluntary sector, we've recently awarded over £4 million in grants through the Strategic Partner Programme. And whilst other authorities are shirking their responsibilities to tackle the big issues like air quality, we're taking the bold steps required to improve the health and well-being of the borough. Madam Mayor, this is a budget that protects our most vulnerable residents, maintains our core services, keeps our libraries, day centres and children's centres open, addresses the demand for school places and creates a healthier environment for all our residents. It is a budget for Merton's families and I commend it to colleagues across the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor. We have now gone through the list of expected members wanting to speak. If we are finished the debate, we will move to the votes. I call for a roll vote on the Conservative budget amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If members can indicate for or against the Conservative amendment. Councillor Pecuniary. Councillor Alan Brittis. Councillor Allison. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Attola. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Benbow. Councillor Bakari. Councillor Braun. Councillor Brunt. Councillor Adam Bush. Councillor Omar Bush. Councillor Butler. Councillor Byers. Councillor Christie. Councillor Chung. Councillor Kumar Bear. Councillor Kelper. Councillor Crowe. Councillor Dean. Councillor Dehaney. Councillor Draper. Councillor Fairclough. Councillor Foley. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Grattan. Councillor Henry. Councillor Holden. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Andrew Howard. Councillor Janice Howard. Councillor Irons. Councillor Mark Kenny. Councillor Sally Kenny. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Clower. Councillor Lanning. Councillor Latif. Councillor McCauley. Councillor Macon. Councillor McCabe. Councillor McGrath. Councillor McCrean. Councillor Moulton. Councillor Mundy. Councillor Ormerod. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Quilliam. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Skeet. Councillor Southgate. Councillor Stringer. Councillor Ward. Councillor Welton. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Williams. Councillor Stamford. No.
23 for, 37 against, no votes. Conservative amendment is lost. Thank you. I call for a vote now on the Liberal Democrat Amendment 1.
If councillors could indicate for or against, this is Liberal Democrat Amendment 1, mitigating costs of health and social care services. Councillor Acker Councillor Alan Brittis, Councillor Allison, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Attoa, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Benbow, Councillor Pecuniary, Councillor Braun, Councillor Brunt, Councillor Adam Bush, Councillor Omar Bush, Councillor Butler, Councillor Byers, Councillor Christie, Councillor Chung, Councillor Kigmar-Bear, Councillor Calper, Councillor Crowe, Councillor Dean, Councillor Dehaney, Councillor Draper, Councillor Fairclough, Councillor Foley, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Gretton, Councillor Henry, Councillor Holden, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Andrew Howard, Councillor Janice Howard, Councillor Irons, Councillor Mark Kenny, Councillor Sally Kenny, Councillor Kirby, Councillor Kohler, Councillor Lanning, Councillor Latif, Councillor McCauley, Councillor Makin, Councillor McCabe, Councillor McGrath, Councillor McLean, Councillor Milton, Councillor Mundy, Councillor Ormerod, Councillor Pearce, Councillor Pritchard, Councillor Quilliam, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Skeet, Councillor Southgate, Councillor Stringer, Councillor Ward, Councillor Welton, Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Williams, Councillor Stanford, and Mayor.
Result 23 for, 37 against, no votes. The Liberal Democrat Amendment 1 is lost. I call for a roll vote on the Liberal Democrat Amendment 2.
This is the Wellbeing Innovation Fund Amendment. If members can indicate for or against, Councillor Acker Councillor Brittis, Councillor Allison, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Attoa, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Benbow, Councillor Pecuniary, Councillor Braun, Councillor Brunt, Councillor Adam Bush, Councillor Omar Bush, Councillor Butler, Councillor Byers, Councillor Christie, Councillor Chung, Councillor Kigmar-Bear, Councillor Calper, Councillor Crowe, Councillor Dean, Councillor Dehaney, Councillor Draper, Councillor Fairclough, Councillor Foley, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Gretton, Councillor Henry, Councillor Holden, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Andrew Howard, Councillor Janice Howard, Councillor Irons, Councillor Mark Kenny, Councillor Sally Kenny, Councillor Kirby, Councillor Kohler, Councillor Lanning, Councillor Latif, Councillor McCauley, Councillor Makin, Councillor McCabe, Councillor McGrath, Councillor McLean, Councillor Moulton, Councillor Mundy, Councillor Ormerod, Councillor Pearce, Councillor Pritchard, Councillor Quilliam, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Skeet, Councillor Southgate, Councillor Stringer, Councillor Ward, Councillor Welton, Councillor Wilkinson, Councillor Williams, Councillor Stanford.
6 for, 37 against, 17 no votes. The Liberal Democrat Amendment 2 falls. Call for a roll vote on the Liberal Democrat Amendment 3.
I have to share an interest.
Yes.
There is an element in this amendment which says to establish a landlord licensing scheme with income generated being approximately 1,000. I am a landlord in Merton. I can leave the chamber as long as somebody grabs me back into the next vote, but I don't wish to record a vote rather than abstain.
So, I mean, the declaration, the judgment is yours, Councillor Williams. I don't think that has an interest that you need to personally declare and leave the chamber simply because it affects everyone to the same degree.
So I may vote.
Yes, I think you may.
I raise the same interest, but presumably the same bias.
That's correct. I mean, I imagine a lot of members in the House, in the chamber, are affected through the council tax level. So it needs to affect you individually, rather than people in the borough generally, to a greater degree.
Well, it would, because as a landlord, I would presumably be required to make a payment.
But all landlords will be.
I take advice, thank you,
Yeah.
but I wish to record it.
Yes, should say. Councillors, next amendment is Liberal Democrat Amendment 3, which is Innovation in Growing the Council's Revenue Amendment. Councillor Pecuniary. Councillor Alan Brittis. Councillor Allison. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Atwa. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Benbow. Councillor Bahari. Councillor Braun. Councillor Brunt. Councillor Adam Bush. Councillor Omar Bush. Councillor Butler. Councillor Byers. Councillor Christie. Councillor Chung. Councillor Cook-Marvell. Councillor Kepler. Councillor Crowe. Councillor Dean. Councillor Dehaney. Councillor Draper. Councillor Fairclough. Councillor Foley. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Gretton. Councillor Henry. Councillor Holden. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Andrew Howard. Councillor Janice Howard. Councillor Irons. Councillor Mark Kemp. Councillor Sally Kenny. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Kohler. Councillor Manning. Councillor Latif. Councillor McCauley. Councillor Makin. Councillor McCabe. Councillor McGrath. Councillor McLean. Councillor Morton. Councillor Mundy. Councillor Ormrod. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Cullion. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Skeet. Councillor Southgate. Councillor Stringer. Councillor Ward. Councillor Welton. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Williams. Councillor Stamford.
Six for, 37 against, 17 no votes. So Amendment 3 falls. So we now move our call for a roll vote on the Liberal Democrat Amendment 4.
This is the Building Stronger Safer Communities Amendment. Councillor Akajunian. Councillor Alan Brittis.
Against.
Councillor Allison. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Atwa. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Benbow. Councillor Bahari. Councillor Braun. Councillor Brunt. Councillor Adam Bush. Councillor Omar Bush. Councillor Butler. Councillor Byers. Councillor Christie. Councillor Chung. Councillor Cook-Marvell. Councillor Kepler. Councillor Crowe. Councillor Dean. Councillor Dehaney. Councillor Draper. Councillor Fairclough. Councillor Foley. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Gretton. Councillor Henry.
Against.
Councillor Holden.
For.
Councillor Holmes. Councillor Andrew Howard. Councillor Janice Howard. Councillor Irons. Councillor Mark Kenny. Councillor Sally Kenny. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Kohler. Councillor Lanning. Councillor Latif. Councillor McCauley. Councillor Makin. Councillor McCabe. Councillor McGrath. Councillor McLean. Councillor Moulton. Councillor Mundy. Councillor Ormerod. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Quilliam. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Skeet. Councillor Southgate. Councillor Stringer. Councillor Ward. Councillor Welton. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Williams. Councillor Stanford.
We've got 23 for, 37 against, so no votes. The amendment 4 falls. We will now turn our attention to a vote on the substantive budget report. Councillor Bridges, would you like to use your right to reply on the substantive motion?
No, I don't need to say anything. It's a superb budget, so let's vote for it.
I now call for a recorded roll call vote to formally agree the main budget report.
Councillors, this is for or against the budget recommendations before you. Councillor Virginia. Councillor Brittis. Councillor Allison. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Atwell. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Benbow. Councillor Bahari. Councillor Braun. Councillor Brunt. Councillor Adam Bush. Councillor Omar Bush. Councillor Butler. Councillor Byers. Councillor Christie. Councillor Chung. Councillor Hugh Councillor Kepler. Councillor Crowe. Councillor Dean. Councillor Dehaney. Councillor Draper. Councillor Fairclough. Councillor Foley. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Greta. Councillor Henry. Councillor Holden. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Andrew Howard. Councillor Janice Howard. Councillor Irons. Councillor Mark Kenny. Councillor Sally Kenny. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Kohler. Councillor Lanning. Councillor Latif. Councillor McCauley. Councillor Makin. Councillor McCabe. Councillor McGrath. Councillor McLean. Councillor Moulton. Councillor Mundy. Councillor Ormerod. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Quilliam. Councillor Simpson. Councillor Skeet. Councillor Southgate. Councillor Stringer. Councillor Ward. Councillor Welton. Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Williams. Councillor Stanford.
37 for, 23 against, no opposed, so it's carried. Thank you. Just before we, I'd like just to make one announcement before we draw to close. With the help of Councillor Kirby, we're on Monday evening, the 25th of March, 7:30 here in this chamber. We're inviting people to attend a discussion on how we can support the bereaved in our community. We've got guest speakers Claire Gummett, Chris Lockman and Sadie Smith. And if you're interested in attending, could you please contact the Mayor's Secretary, Sandra Folks. But we're hoping to start up a bereavement council at this side of the borough. So I would like to see as many people as possible here. So with no further business, I declare the meeting of the council closed, and thank you all very much.